create upon my flesh.
There's no looking for crowd validation. There's no waiting for outside redemption. There's no collective bargaining to rely on. The awakening is you. Only you. That's what all this is about. The battle for your spirit and soul. There is nothing more important in this life for you or me than waking up. Once that's straightened out, the rest will follow. Creates and reinforces the world around us. Once we become conscious and aware that this existing matrix we're witnessing is an arbitrary creation manipulated by power-crazed puppeteers, that is when the change happens. And the universe will tell you what to do from there. That's what you respond to. Nothing else. That's your job. That's my job. Don't shirk it. Enjoy your earthly suit, but rediscover who you truly are. We judge so much by how we think it will measure up to the world around us, rather than just express what we're thinking and feeling openly. Whether with close friends and family, your peer group, or the message we pick up in public, we're being programmed.
Take my freedom, give me.
Programmed to not respond to obvious needs, but to strange, shallow, self-serving impulses, just like everyone else. Who's looking when you're sleepwalking? But there's a price to pay. Everything. Waking up costs everything. So what? What are you saving up for? Aren't you paying that price anyway, even if you're not waking up? Life always costs everything. You'll leave here eventually, like me, and the cost will be your life. How did you spend it? Consciously? Or trying to conform and using that to hide behind? to justify living as a comfortable, selfish, lazy brain donor to the system. That's the battlefield. You, me. It goes no further. The only thing is, for conscious, spiritual reality, there is no predator. That's the secret. We are eternal consciousness having an experience. We individually have to change first. We have to commit to consciousness, get free of entanglement, and live a conscious life. The rest has little meaning until we get out of the matrix. It's you. It's me. Your personal world and experience is the only one you'll ever know. Just let consciousness be your guide, but act on it. Don't let them take your freedom.
Good evening, everybody. Today's date is Wednesday, January the 27th, 2021. My name's Christopher James, and it's an absolute honor and pleasure for me to be here with you this evening. We have a wonderful, another power-packed presentation here this evening to share incredible knowledge as we, the people, are gathering around this world. I want everyone to know that I've been starting these live streams back in August. I find it absolutely wonderful. And there's one line that completely grips me and stands out above all others within that communication. And that is, waking up costs everything. And that's how it reflects to me, because it has been an incredible journey for me. And those of us who are awake, those of us that are stepping up and armoring up with the knowledge, so to speak, and putting this around us as we enter into this battlefield that is rampant all around us in this world of this ignorance and of this fear mongering that's going on. And it's all based on deceit. And the battleground is truly bringing this truth any which way we can forward to our fellow man and woman. And that is why these live streams that I do are so important. You know, I should say that Monday night's January the 25th program just got uploaded just before I went live here today. I got the communication from BitChute. It's been sitting there for 24 hours, basically waiting for it to upload. I was almost going to redo it again. Sometimes I got to do it 2 and 3 times to get it up there. But thank goodness it went up there tonight. That was a very powerful presentation and discussion with Kevin J. Johnson, an amazing man who I met for the first time, who I knew a little bit about. But by the end of that production, or that show, everybody surely understood who this man is and the incredible work and the heavy lifting that he's also doing on behalf of his fellow man in this country and also ultimately for this world. Kevin reached back out to me. There's been some updates that have gone on at his end, some very serious updates involving the police, and I don't want to speak to it until I can confirm exactly what's going on. I haven't heard from Kevin today, and I've emailed him and faxed him or texted him. So hopefully I'll hear from him tonight after the live presentation here, and we can find out what's going on. But I'm going to bring Kevin back on if I can tomorrow night for a little bit, and then we're going to be jumping into understanding what's going on with Tammy and Tiffany and a lot of other great court filings. But tonight, I first want to start off, and again, thank you everybody for all your wonderful support. I should just quickly blow through here the slides that I have here. Let me just do this because I think it's very important. I don't do it all the time, but please understand it's important at my end here and getting this message out and sharing this knowledge everywhere. This is my website, awarriorcalls.com. Please go there. This is what you get into once you've gone past the landing page that has a short video. Within this, you will find enormous knowledge for you. Look first at the foundational knowledge videos, the 4 of them, and then from there, jump to the live streams and start watching. Go back to August 6th and watch them all in order if you can. Okay, just don't jump to, the most recent one if you're hearing about this for the first time. Why? Because when you start back from the beginning and then you fast forward to where we are here today, there was only one a week, and it's only in the last couple of weeks now I've been doing 3 shows a week. So it's really not too many programs to watch, given a lot of people are sitting home on these lockdowns or whatever, for you to get fast-tracked, given the knowledge and understand right now in real time what's not only going on in this country, but in Australia, but in the UK, in Ireland, in Scotland, These are the multiple areas that I'm involved in right now. And I'll tell you, I've got a really power pack of presentations coming up here very soon, because as is tonight's going to be an incredible discussion and sharing, I'm bringing Mac Parhar on, a court that I established back on November the 13th of 2020. And this court, the Parhar Court, is taking down the corrupt people at the very top of the service corporation called British Columbia. Yes, that's the government of British Columbia. So we've filed against the 5 top people that are there, the man acting as premier, the man acting as attorney general, most importantly, the man or woman acting as health minister, because they're the ones that are ultimately creating this false narrative, in our world today. They're the ones that are driving this fear against all our elderly, against all our children, against destroying all these businesses. These are the people that are lying to us. And I can say that emphatically without fear, because I have the truth, just as many of you out there also have. You can find that on my website of the tab there under COVID Lie. You'll see more than 70 videos. I got to be close to 100 now. The other place that I'm at also is BitChute. Please subscribe. They don't always give you the notifications there. That's why it's important you subscribe at my website as well, because I haven't been sending out any communications through that, and I've got to start doing that, seeing as I pay for it every month. But I just realized, I've got to start picking that up and getting these communications out to everybody. I'm just inundated right now with court work. So you can find me on BitChute, which is incredible, where all my live streams will always be put up. That's where all the COVID-19 stuff is, as well as with Brighteon. Okay. And again, thanks to Elise, who's doing better. I want everyone to know, thank you for all your prayers and that you sent for the woman that's been helping me out. Past accountant here. She's been an incredible light in my life over the last 6 months that she's come into it to reach out to help with me. And she's been fantastic. Her and Sean are like my right hand people. And then I've got a great man like Paul as well. You can also find me on Rumble. That's just starting to get populated there. You can also, a wonderful set of sisters. They came out, 3 of them. They created for me a warriorcbd.com, and this is the place that you can go. It's a website through HempWorks, which is one of the best corporations, entities in this world that is really harnessing the power of the cannabis plant in a very pure way, and it doesn't have any THC. So for those of you that may be suffering from various different health reasons, please go to this site and educate and learn yourself the power of the cannabinoids and the cannabis plant, as I have learned and I have demonstrated also on my website. They're incredible women, and then also by me being able to helping you out for anything you may purchase from that site there. In return, I get a small little commission off the sales, and that helps support all my work. So it's a really all well-rounded, support structure, and I'm so grateful for these wonderful women setting this up for me, and the products are just incredible. And lastly, you can donate to me at PayPal, which again, I thank everybody that's been donating to me on PayPal. I will get back to all of you. It just takes me a little bit of time. And obviously, right off the top here, I also wanted to thank people who have sent me money through the e-transfer. Some people don't always send me their email, and I can't correct them and call them and thank them. So I just quickly want to say to Ashley Scott, thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything, for all your donation and support. To Dave and Crystal, again, love you to death. Thank you. For Margaret Olshorn, thank you so much for everything. I'm truly grateful. And lastly, Patricia Wilkins, for your donations, your support. I hate that word donations, because I'm not some charity event that's here. Okay, I'm a man here that's doing incredible work for our country and our world. And unfortunately, these finances are required in order for us to do what we're doing at our end and to try and move this ball into the light and into our world very quickly. And that's what's actually happening at a very expedited rate right now. I've got action right now as we're going to watch tonight, as I spoke to on Monday night. I've discussed that Mac Parhar and I, we were together on a Zoom call, or whatever you want to call it, their conference calls, video call, for a court appearance on Monday, January the 25th. And this is in British Columbia. So I appeared with him as his counselor at law. And we're going to watch this tonight in its entirety. It's important. I want to set the stage before we get into this, because this is what you are all going to finally see is the evil that's existing here. I've drilled down on the very important questions, right? Understanding whose court is this, whose jurisdiction you address, where's the verified claim before this court, who's claiming that I'm property, right? These are all the powerful things that you need to put forth and on the table in front of these people. And this was a very interesting call on Wednesday. I recorded it, okay? They didn't know I recorded it, and I don't really give a rat's ass whether they know whether I recorded it or not, because this is all on the public record. I have nothing to hide about, and neither does Mac Parhar. Okay, this man has been horrifically attacked, and they're doing everything they can, as you're going to see, to make an example of him when they have no right, when they have no laws that apply to this man, because he's broken no law. He's broken nothing. He's not caused any wrong or harm to any man or woman. And these people, what they're doing is outright malicious. It's outright horrific. And they cannot allow this man to escape what they've already done to him, because if they do, then the gig is up for all this corruption and fraud that's being committed against we the people. And I'm here to send a very strong notice to all of you that are out there that are doing this to Mac. We are coming for you through the courts. And it may take a little bit longer than we planned. We may have some bumps or that in the road. I don't fear any of that. You know why? Because we know what's about to happen here. The world is about to find out the power of the common law. The world is about to find out about this horrific trespass that has occurred against every man and woman since we were born. And in that moment, when that happens, you people that are bar members, you people that have been walking around with these black robes, stealing under the color of law, threatening, destroying people's lives, just so you can profit with your little repugnant private society, let me tell you something. I'm going to be one of the people, if not the main, your entire society is liquidated into oblivion. That's my promise to the bar. Okay? There's a lot of great people that work and act as lawyers, but they have been also lied to, as I say. Just like I say, all police organizations, service corporations are corrupt from top to bottom. Not the people. Their organizations and how they've been set out, how the truth has been presented to these honorable people that are putting their lives on the line every single day has been compromised. And this has been done intentionally. Okay, to keep the consciousness of mind of man in the dark to who he is and the power that he truly holds when he understands law, when he understands how powerful our public courthouses are when we access them correctly. So this one that we're going to talk about here this evening, and you're actually going to see these actors that are being paid on your dime, these parasites. I want to set the stage for it before I bring Mac on, who's waiting backstage here with Paul. They're probably having a good yick. But what happened on Monday is that you need to understand. I want to lay this out so everybody can fully understand my participation in this at this time. In common law, or any time when you are being put under attack or duress from this legal society or legal system, okay, if you're going to fight back with them honorably, with the knowledge, as everything that I've shared with everybody, you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet as a man or a woman. I can't do it for you, and neither can anybody else. That's what the common law is about. And people say, well, wait a minute, Chris. You said that, some people can act as a counselor at law. In the common law world in England, it's actually known as a Mackenzie friend. Okay, that's the actual term that they deem a man or woman that's coming out to assist their fellow man in a court proceeding. It doesn't mean that I'm representing Mac or representing Mac. No, I'm simply there bearing witness and to help him along the way if there's any jurisdictional questions. Now, this case that we're dealing with Mac that they've charged him with is all based on fraud, as we know. He's caused no wrong or harm to any man or woman. There's no verified claim before the court that from another man or woman he's trespassed against them, and there's no obligation, which these service corporations, that's what all these people are representing, all right, have produced, in which Mac has consented to these ridiculous and repugnant acts and codes that they're rolling out now at will as they move this ball further and further along for the COVID-19 and the lockdown, to destroying our companies, our communities, and our way of life. And that's why everybody needs to tear down, as Mac started to do with his business over almost a year ago now. I guess it was last March when this first started with Mac. But now people all around the world, they're fighting back. They're talking about the great opening, never about the great reset. And the great opening is everyone needs to just go and open your businesses, pull all these signs down, remove all these masks. If people want to come into your store and wear a mask, a hijab, frickin' in their underwear, well, who really cares? All right. At the end of the day, as long as they're not trespassing against you, causing you wrong or harm, or trespass against another man in your store, they have every right to be there, right? And you should welcome them to your store. But these people that believe all of us should be wearing masks because they're too damn ignorant to learn what the hell's going on, well, that's their problem, okay? Not mine, and it's not yours. And it's time we start fighting back very powerfully with this knowledge against these people. You have to be proactive. I got a communication here from a man out in Saskatchewan, wonderful man with his cigar store business, who reached out to me back to November. And I believe it was just today that he had bylaw officers and that all barge into his establishment, his property. And I guess that they were doing these things against him, trying to intimidate him, etc. So we basically kicked him out of the store, I believe. And he's obviously concerned with them coming back. He was a little bit panicky in his email that he sent to me. But what had happened is that the man had put up the notice he had just found on the window, but he hadn't done the first steps first. And this is why I say to everybody, you just don't simply put up these notices of liability on your front doors of your businesses or your home. You take a pre-active approach to this, a pre-offensive move. And what is that? That's sending these people 3 notices, right? 1, first notice of liability, 2nd notice of liability, and 3rd notice of liability. As I've laid out, as Tammy and Tiffany have done, as all the businesses now are starting to do that are hearing about this, this is what you need to do in a preemptive strike against this ignorance that's all around us. Okay. And in doing that, that will alleviate and that will set the stage that if these people do show up at your establishment, you've already established with them in writing ahead of time 3 times exactly where their jurisdiction lies and where it ends. And it ends outside of your property, your business. Okay. They have no jurisdiction coming in to your establishment and carrying out these horrific and authoritative type of, ridiculous rules and laws and codes that they're just writing at left and right to basically do anything to lock people down and usher in this new control structure. Okay. And these people that walk around acting as bylaw officers, they are the most ignorant people in our world. Okay. They're clueless to truth. They're nothing but yes men, as far too many people, including mayors, are in this world not realizing that they're bound to protect the people and their properties within their communities. The mayor actually stands above, right? A prime minister or a man or woman acting as premier at the provincial level. They are the highest man or woman that has been elected by the people locally at the community to protect everything that it was in their region, right? And mayors are completely turning a blind eye to what their obligations and oath of offices are. And they're simply siding with this repugnant, theater that's going on. And they're doing nothing more than creating this enforcement like the Nazis used to say and saying, well, I was just following orders. And all of them need to know, and part of your notices that you send to them, you put them on notice that they're looking at Nuremberg trials. Okay. This has been going on for a year now, people. The rubber's hit the road. Everyone knows that we're being lied to. Everybody understands something very horrific is going wrong. You cannot stand back anymore and allow this to happen. You must be writing to people every single day and bringing these truths forward. And what we're going to do here tonight is we're actually going to open the door. You're actually going to see inside what goes on inside these repugnant courtrooms with these people that believe that they have jurisdiction over a man or woman. I had just, in closing, before I bring this on and Mac and we talk about it, I had to be very calm and quiet on this, okay? For those of you that have been following Donald Trump and this whole theater that's going on in the United States, that this plan has been set to, trap and have all the traitors expose themselves at the end of the election. This is the basic long and short of it of what is supposedly being presented out there, and which I hope with all my heart is the truth. However, if it's not the truth, then it always falls back to we the people. We are the only ones that are going to get this done. Donald Trump isn't going to get it done on his own when he was president, or even now, regardless of what he's put in place behind. At the end of the day, we the people must rise up and we must restore and root out all of this corruption. And we must do this with the people that are in law enforcement. Okay. They're not winning right now. It's sort of at an equal keel, as I'm saying, because police around me are starting to wake up. There's still a lot of them that are ignorant that we see, that are still doing these draconian measures as we saw last weekend in Toronto. But at the end of the day, something is happening in our world. This consciousness is waking up, and we must do everything that we can. I don't care if 100 police officers I got to go through and they beat the hell out of me, right? Till I get to that one that is so courageous that he will stand up as a light to this world, as part of these organizations that are supposed to protect and serve, and bring that truth forward like a champ. That's what's required. That's what I'm doing. I fear no man or woman in this world, because I do have the truth within me that resides within my heart, my mind, and my soul. And I've laid this out so simply for everyone. I'll tell you, people that are in kindergarten could understand the simplicity of the 3 questions you simply need to engage with any man or woman that's trying to administrate property without right. And the only 4th question, as we all know, is when the men or women that are involved in police who are also ignorant, this is how you honorably address with them. So, like I said, I'm receiving a lot of calls because they're upping and creating more and more conflict between we the people with each other. And this is all occurring because these truths are not making it to the forefront. So, the other night here on Wednesday night, I had 500 people at one point on this stream, I was told. And wouldn't it be something if all 500 of you would write to, for example, if in Canada or wherever you are, you write to your mayor, you write to the man or woman acting as chief of police, and you hit them with these truths that's going on. Send them to the links of Dolores Cahill, Judy Mikovits. Send them to the links that are showing and outing the numbers of how many cases there really are in this country. We don't care if there's trillions of cases. All that matter is the mortality rate, as I hammer home, and that we've been lied to, and they need to get this. Because right now, for those of you that are not aware of it, go look up the Georgia Guidestones. This is exactly what is going on in our world right now. The great mass culling has begun. And that's what these vaccines, these experimental vaccines, are doing that have not been tested on animals or anyone. They're going straight from the lab, straight to be jabbed into your arm, and you can kiss your life goodbye if you get these. Okay? You're finished. Because the evidence is out there. Don't take it from me. Take it from over the 70 doctors that I've got on my website that are doing all they can to bring these truths forward to the world. So, having said that, I'm going to bring Mac on here, but just know this is that this court appearance that I showed up with, it was frustrating for me because, I think, I'm a tiger at this stuff. I would eat these people alive. But this is Mac's court. This is the trespass that happened against Mac. And my whole objective here was to lay the seeds for them out there. Just poke the bear, continually poke it. And Mac did something that was he actually did a great thing out there that you're going to see here. The man actually appeared, which was wonderful. He wasn't taking any crap, and he was giving it to them right back and standing there honorably. And again, the audio was very difficult for all of us at some time because of this Yahoo that was acting as a judge named Daniel, which I got to say to Mac, God bless you, man, for still calling him Daniel the whole time when he said, that's not how I'm supposed to be addressed here. Well, that's just too damn bad, Jack. Your name's Daniel and you're a public servant. You work for We the People. And Mac owned him, which I just loved. There was one thing that Mac said that I wasn't too happy with, and Mac knew about it afterwards, but we'll talk about that. But again, we have to understand the seriousness of this, and you understand that if people are watching this saying, well, why isn't Christopher stepping up and jumping in more? He knows so much about this. Why isn't he standing up and speaking? I'm not speaking because it's not my court, first and foremost. Secondly, I have no standing in that court. I was there, and if they wished to speak to me, that's when I was going to speak, and that's when I did. I only spoke for a little bit near the end, right? This man was trying to get a little bit cocky with me at where am I located, and are you going to give me our address? Meanwhile, we already put it into them twice in communications. Again, you're going to find out as we talk with Mac about here everything that happened. So I just wanted to set that stage before I bring Mac on so that you understand this. And then what we're going to do is that once we run this video, at times I'm going to pause it and we'll just talk about a couple of things along the way. But I want this to go out fluidly as best as we can to let it run. It's about 35 minutes, the whole thing. And you're going to see all these actors. You're going to see how they act. You're going to see how Mac responded to these people. And Mac's been working at this and he's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So I have no worries about Mac. Mac is going to be able to carry the day, and then we'll talk about after this, which you understand, what you see, what they're just doing and ignoring things and just pushing things ahead, the other alternatives that we're going to put in place to protect Mac. But at the end of the day, we are going to move this thing forward, and we're going to win this. So without further ado, I think I covered everybody. And like I said, waking up costs everything, people. Just remember that. So there's Mac there. How you doing, Mac?
Hey, Chris, I'm doing better. Listening to you, I get all motivated and pumped up after, not feeling so good all day and a lot of uncertainty. I tried to channel Kevin J. Johnson after you had him on the show on Monday, man. That guy's been through so much, and he's still optimistic and warrior spirit in him. So I'm trying to channel that because, this is affecting me. All this having to go through all these hoops and hurdles and everything that the system is doing to me. So it does lean heavily on me at times. So,
yeah. Well, like I said, Mac, to everybody is that you were different than you've ever been, brother, on the call on Monday. And the people are going to see this. You're going to see a man appear, Mac of the Parhar family. And this man was confident. You could feel it in his every being. And he wasn't taking any shit. And he still carried himself honorably, because it is so easy to want to rip the heads off these people because you're seeing this massive corruption unfold against you, and they're ignoring their duties to provide good faith service, especially this clown, Daniel, who was acting as a magistrate or a justice or whatever he was. You wait till you hear some of the things that come out of this man's trap. And this is the things that people don't see that goes on in the court, because if they saw that they were ignoring evidence that's being laid before the court, as these people have done, people would be outraged. And that's why we're doing this. We're going to bring this out into the light. So other than that, Mac and I were in court. What time did it start, Mac? It was 9:30 your time, I think.
Yeah, it was scheduled for 9:30. I think there were 5 minutes later, the judges appeared. We started at 9:30 and the judge showed up 5-6 minutes later.
That's great. Well, I'll just grab I think Paul.
I shouldn't call him judge. Daniel showed up.
Yeah. Well, like I say, don't spoil the conversation, because how you handled that was pretty good. And I'm going to stop at, where you said that one line, just to clarify things, but it's all good. On not a performance from an actual appearance that Mac did, I'd give him a good solid 85 to 90 out of 100. He really did a great job. People have to understand is that Mac has just learned about this stuff as well. He's not been studying common law or all this trespassing crap that's been going on for the last 100 years. He's been too busy operating a business, supporting his family, working hard like so many men and women out there. And then this horrific trespass, this gift, occurred against him. And that's why what we did is my whole objective to this is to bring this corruption out into the light. And how you do this is you just simply hit these people, as we did with the communications. Mac poked the bear enough when he was in this communication, as you're going to see, that they just can't help themselves but fall all over themselves. And especially when you start to see the interaction between Mac and Danielle, it's pretty interesting. And you're going to see this man acting as whatever he was acting as. He's all over the map with his headset or whatever. I mean, it's such a shit show. And this is what all the people are paying for. When this man before you, he's caused no wrong or harm to another man or woman. There's no verified contract that they brought forward an obligation to which they're relying upon. No, they just need to make an example of Mac because they've already trespassed against him. And they know if it gets brought in front of a court of a jury of his peers, they're all pop it ahead.
Court, order in court, and we're now on record. And you're, I believe you're muted right now.
I don't have the number of the list, but it's hard.
Sorry, Your Honor, you're still muted.
There. How's that? Good.
Great, thank you, Your Honor.
Can everybody hear that, Paul?
Good morning, Your Honor. Adrian Switzer for the Federal Crown. For the
I can
record,
hear it.
that's SWITZER,
I'm asking everyone.
initial A. I have conduct of, I thought I had 2 matters on the list. I know that it is number 25 on the list, court file 81476.
Okay, we're good. Everyone can hear.
Okay.
There was another matter, a ticket. Mr. Parhar's that I understood the first appearance was being put on today's date, and I wanted to address that issue. I didn't see it on the list, but I just glanced at it, so I'm not sure. I've sent an email to the registry, but I don't know. But
It is on the list.
Oh, it is. Okay. What number is that?
It's number 1 on the traffic list.
Okay. Also calling number 1 on that list.
Okay, is Mr. Parhar present?
Good morning, Your Honorable Man. It's Mac of the Parhar family. I'm here by special appearance. This whole procedure is causing me wrong and harm. I'm here to settle all matters. I have some paperwork in the file before you. There is a challenge to jurisdiction. I've asked several times of the Crown if there's a verified claim from another man or woman. I'd like to solve that. If they can produce that, if there's an obligation or a contract with my wedding signature, a bill of particulars, or if somebody here is claiming that I'm their property. So I haven't got verification of that, and I would like to...
Mr. Parhar, I'm going to cut you off. You're charged with some quasi-criminal offenses. That's all we're going to deal with. The matter's been set for trial. This is not a commercial litigation in the slightest. And even if it was, none of what you're saying makes any. You're all bound by the rulings of the Superior Courts have said that your arguments with respect to man, women, etc. are absolutely nonsense. I do not propose to allow you to waste any of the court's time on this. So,
Well, why am I being forced
the advantages here, because you will be arrested if you don't participate.
So is that a threat? Are you threatening me, Judge?
I am simply telling you that you will participate whether you like it or not.
Are you claiming that I'm your property? Are you claiming that I am property?
Mr. Parhar, we will not get to
That a boy, Mac.
hearing.
Judge, Daniel, it's a yes or no question.
And discussion.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Paul, I can't hear anything right now.
I think something's up with your mic, Daniel. I'm having trouble hearing you.
You will address me appropriately, and I will address you appropriately.
I'd like to be addressed. I'd like to be addressed as Your Royal Highness.
Well, I will address you appropriately as Mr. Parhar.
Can you pause it there,
I'll
Paul?
address you as Daniel. Your Honorable.
Thanks, Paul. What you can do, Mac, is you can refresh your screen. Try that. That's what it did for me, and it brought the audio and the picture, everything all back in for me.
Yeah, I just did that to work.
Okay, terrific. So for where we've got to right now, hopefully all of you have just heard the absolute ignorance and arrogance of this man, that you're going to do what you're told, blah, 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 blah. And now he started in with Mac, so honorably dressed him, as Danielle, the honorable man. Well, he didn't like that. He wanted to be called whatever he wanted to be called. This was the only one issue that I had with Mac, that he said, I'd like to be called Your Royal Highness. I realized he was being a little bit of a smartass, but We don't do this, guys, in the courts, okay? This is dead serious. This is Mac's life that's on the line here, his future, everything that's happening. So we don't want to give any food for thought or to these guys to basically take something and run with it. Okay. And this little maggot in the center there with the glasses, his little cocky smiles that he gets all the time. This is what these little parasites are like, these lawyers, right? Because they listen to this guy that's acting as a justice in their little realm, in their little world. And they just love when he says, well, none of what you say is making sense, or I'm not going to accept any of it, all this sort of stuff. So we'll carry on here moving forward, but pay very close attention to the words. Max did a great job here, addressing right off the case. What did he do? He addressed, is there a verified claim before the court? He addressed, is there an obligation that they're relying upon? Is there a bill of particulars of damages that he's done? These are the foundational things for a court to be able to move, right? Or who there claims that he's property. And they ignored it all because they don't have the evidence for that. And that's why they're just moving forward ahead, because they cannot lose face with this with Mac, because everything's going to come crashing down around them if the world sees what is actually going on. And that's exactly what we're going to do collectively, people. Hit play again, Paul. Thank you.
So, Ms. Switzer, how many witnesses are you calling at Mr. Parhar's trial?
Yes, Your Honor. I haven't interviewed them yet, so of course this is subject to, once I interview them, I may be able to eliminate some of the witnesses, but right now I've got likely 6 to 8 witnesses. Hopefully that can be narrowed to 6. They all have fairly discrete, narrow pieces of evidence. For instance, there's the individuals who dealt with him on his return to the country at the airport, who can identify that he is the person who is subject to the quarantine, the order of counsel under the Quarantine Act. And then there are the various officers who attended his residence on the different occasions that he was not home. There are the officers who arrested him returning to his home. And then there's also an officer who, from the Vancouver Police Department, who was at a rally, an anti-mask rally that Mr. Parhar was at during the when he was meant to be under quarantine. And then there's an officer who downloaded. Mr. Parhar is an avid YouTuber who live streams his activities, and there's an officer who will speak to introducing some of the video evidence that will also be demonstrative of his activities while subject to the quarantine order.
Okay. And
Can you pause it for a sec, Paul?
yeah.
Thanks, Paul. So listen to the verbiage that this woman is spewing out, okay? They're talking about Mac as if, oh, well, he was outside out of their quarantine, that they deemed him quarantine. Who quarantines a man that's healthy? Okay, there's nothing wrong with Mac. He's healthier than an ox or whatever. He might be under a lot of stress, but they are demonizing him as if this man is a terrorist. The nerve of him to actually disobey their orders to go out and be free as he's been all his life because they believe that some quarantine act, again, applies to him. That's why it's so important you understand the power of that word. Produce the obligation. In order for that quarantine act to apply to Mac, there's got to be an obligation, and he has to consent to it, and he hasn't done that. So listen to the words, and what does she use? The person. Pay very close attention to the words, the verbiage that they use, okay? Carry on, Paul. Thank you.
Issues I was hoping to address.
Yeah. All right.
First of all, I haven't interviewed any of the witnesses yet, and I've had difficulty getting disclosure to Mr. Parhar. Obviously, as Your Honor is well aware, it's Mr. Parhar's right to have full access to all of the fruits of the Crown's case. But I've had quite a bit of difficulty sending disclosure to him, and I would like him to understand that it's his right to have access to that information so he can defend himself. And as I interview officers, it may be that some additional disclosure arises I need to send to him. And the last address he gave me, the disclosure was returned to that address, returned from it as him not living there. I was hoping he could confirm if something arises, by what means would he like me to send it to him? Mr. Parhar, do you want me to email it to you from the Flat Earth address?
Well, I don't really want any gifts from you guys. If you want to, I mean, I don't want anything that would put me in joinder with you. If you want to send me a no obligation gift, I would be willing to accept that as long as it doesn't put me in joinder with you. I'm still waiting for evidence that, you know, these proceedings apply to me. You're just asserting that I have to participate like I'm property.
So what I intend to do with the disclosure then is if anything new arises or comes to my attention or there are any changes, I will both email it to him and send to registered mail to the New Westminster address that was the location where the quarantine was meant to take place. That is the one location that we did seem to get mail through to. That's what I propose to do going forward. And Mr. Parhar certainly has contacted me. He knows how to reach me if he has any questions. Another issue that I was hoping to address is Mr. Parhar, as I indicated, this was an ongoing, he was subject to the Quarantine Act for 2 weeks. He violated that Quarantine Act almost every single day from the day that after he arrived. And so the first 2 instances of the violation were tickets. Those tickets were issued, and tickets under the Quarantine Act are dealt with through ICBC, and then they get traversed over to the court system if they're disputed. I understand that notices of dispute have been registered on both tickets, as in Mr. Parhar wishes to dispute both tickets. Information laid then is related to the latter days in the events. So what the disclosure package is a singular disclosure package for all events. All witnesses, will says, and everything for each of the days is included. And from my perspective, if he intends to dispute the other 2 matters, it is going to be most efficient and reasonable to proceed with all 3 trials. And this is assuming Mr. Parhar wishes to challenge the other 2, the 2 tickets, on the same day, because there are overlap witnesses. And I think it would be most efficient rather than having 3 separate occasions.
All right. Is there any consideration given to simply laying a fresh information?
I looked into that, and I didn't believe, it was my understanding from my, I'm not sure that that's possible. With other federal tickets, it is, but this is dealt with under the Offence Act, the British Columbia Offence Act. I can look into that, but because they were already registered with ICBC by the time I was dealing with it, and my communications with my supervisor left me with the impression that wasn't as much of an option. But it is.
Well, I don't know if Mr. Baldwin has an opinion on that, because sometimes we see motor vehicle act infractions combined with criminal infractions. I don't know.
The only limitation that I can, the only limitation that I can think of is if one is straight indictable and we're trying to add straight summary matters onto an information with a straight indictable matter, but if they're all summary and they all have the same burden of proof, then that's the problem.
Now that I understand, one has made it to the registry, is on the list for today, which is, and I asked that that be on the list today. I also was in touch with ICBC, and I understand the other one's been processed and is actually being mailed to the registry and should arrive there this week. So I can certainly look into this, and I could stay those charges and then relay this information. It would amount to the same thing, but the main issue that I'd like to, I think it would be effectively the same as if both tickets were adjourned to that date for Mr. Parhar to have an opportunity to challenge those.
Yeah, either way you cut it, they're all going to be heard on the same date.
That is what I would like. So the other ticket, because it's not yet made the list, I just wanted to arrange, because it can be arranged that that be set immediately to that date, or if Mr. Parhar would like to come back for another pretrial conference to discuss that, I'm amenable to that as well. He is, I believe, he is self-represented.
I just want to say, Honorable Man Daniel, do you have my notices that I filed last week in the file before you?
I haven't seen anything, no.
Can you check the file, please? I need to know, because I have the stamped copies. I want it on the record that you have those notices in the file.
I have not seen it. Just give me a moment, and I will see if...
Can you pause it for a sec, Paul? So thank you very much. So what's actually going on here, everyone? Mac, if you're there too as well, just make sure you got your mic mute and everything when we're playing the video. I'm not sure where this extra noise is coming from. And I apologize for that, people. But at the end of the day, it was really brutal for Mac and I listening to this while it was going on. So what Mac is addressing here right now, these are the notices, as I've said to everyone. You put these in ahead of time into the record because, as you see, these people don't want you to speak. They don't want to hear your voice, and they can't hear your voice in the legal world. That's why you put everything in writing powerfully and succinctly and simply into their court file so that they are aware of exactly what you're being communicating to them at this time. So, excuse me, there were 3 notices that went into the court. There was notice of appearance. There was notice jurisdiction. That's challenging the jurisdiction of this court. And the third one was notice liability. Okay, so now this man that's acting for, again, this man Danielle, the Honorable Man Danielle, who's supposed to be honorable, is acting for a service corporation, British Columbia. Remember that. All these people are being paid on our dime, and all of them are going after a man making an enormous amounts of money for their time who has caused no wrong or harm to anybody just because he didn't follow some quarantine act that doesn't apply to a man or woman. That's what I mean. It's different if Mac was actually diagnosed, you know, and had to stay at home and he was infecting everywhere he went, right? Everyone up and down the street, dogs, birds, everything, right? This guy's a nightmare. Everyone's dropping dead around Mac. That wasn't happening. There's no single man or woman that he's caused wrong or harm to. What he has done is he has stood up for his rights as a man. And that's why you're seeing this corrupt theater unfold in front of you. Now watch what this man Danielle does. Carrying on playing, Paul. Thank you.
Your Honor, we do have a number of
What a shit show.
in the physical court file.
Okay, do you know if they've been uploaded to the P drive?
It doesn't note it here. The registry may not have gotten to it yet. They're stamped January the 18th.
Okay, I'm just checking. Give me a moment. All I have is the Crown's.
This is why it's important, people, that you put the documents in ahead of time.
Let me check somewhere else. Just give me a moment again. See here, record. See if it'll. No. It's
Your Honor, I have electronic copies of the documents that Mr. Parhar is referring to, and I couldn't forward them to Madam Registrar if she gave me the email address, and she could forward them to you if you wish to review them.
I require these notices are read now, and because I've put them on honorably, put them into the court.
okay.
So, is Mr. Parhar going to read those aloud, or is Madam Registrar going to provide me an email address?
Well, no, I'd rather see them than have Mr. Parhar read them. Then we know exactly what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what I would prefer. I'd like the Honorable Man Daniel to read them, please. And for the record, I don't consent to any proceedings, and I don't consent to any further harm being done to me. I just want that on the record.
Sure. It's noted.
Registrar, is there an email address I can send this to?
Yes, just give me one moment. I'll get you the general email address.
I think to the JAG CSV New Westminster.
Yes, that should be fine. Thank you.
And send that.
Thank you.
So just so everybody,
Thank you.
So this is what I'm saying, people. We did all this work ahead of time to ensure that this documentation was in the court file before it was opened up. And now you're seeing what your tax dollars pay for. Gross incompetence here. The files weren't sent to this man to what his P drive, whatever it was. And then once it's being brought up here, they still can't get their act together to get this documentation put forward. And I'm glad that Mac asked the man, Daniel, the honorable man, Daniel, to read this on the record. Continue, Paul. Thank you.
So in the meantime, this is set for when and for how long?
This is set for 2 days trial in March, on March 8th and 9th.
Mm-hmm.
2 days for a trial of complete corruption that they can't answer 4 questions in 1 minute in front of Mac here. This is the corruption in front of you.
Review with you how the trial is going to run. There is a presumption of innocence. You are presumed innocent right from the beginning to the end of the evidence and the submissions. The burden of proof is on the Crown. They will have to prove each of the essential elements beyond a reasonable doubt. It is only if they succeed in doing that that the presumption of innocence would be set aside and you would be found guilty of the charges. The way in which the Crown will try to prove its case is they will call various witnesses. Those witnesses will be sworn to tell the truth. They will then be asked individually by the Crown questions designed to elicit the information that the Crown says will provide the necessary evidence to try and prove their case. When a witness has finished answering all of the questions of the Crown, you will have an opportunity to cross-examine that witness. The cross-examination can be wide-ranging in terms of their evidence, but it will be limited to relevant issues. There will not be any permission given to cross-examine on issues that have nothing to do with the normal course of the running of a trial in Canada. When you have finished cross-examining a particular witness, the Crown will call their next witness, and the same procedure will follow from witness to witness until the Crown has finished calling all of their witnesses and has put in whatever evidence they've got in terms of either documents or video clips, which they'll have to prove the authenticity of. You will then have an opportunity to present evidence if you wish. The evidence must be relevant to the charges facing you. Once again, you will not be permitted to spend time arguing matters that superior courts have already ruled in numerous cases are absolute nonsense and a waste of the court's time. And so we will run the trial focused in on the charges as laid. These are quasi-criminal matters. They have important consequences to you, and you have no choice but to participate in it. So that's a simple outline.
Can you pause it, Paul? Okay, so this man's telling him he's got no choice. I should put my picture up here as well. This man's telling Mac that he has no choice, that he has to appear. See this authoritative stuff that's going on? This man is supposed to be acting Honorable Danielle. Simply, does he claim that Mac Parhar is his property? No. You're going to hear this very soon when Mac gets into it. There's no obligation, there's no contract, there's no man or woman that he's caused wrong or harm to, and yet these people are forcing him in because he chose to ignore people that are committing massive fraud in our world. This is what you have to understand what is before you here. When you hear this type of speaking, that you're not going to be allowed to speak outside to this stuff that's been ruled upon over and over, and they've called it nonsense. Who's called it nonsense, Daniel? Right? What? Oh, your bar members? These people that are wearing the black robes, these parasites that are profiting and stealing off we the people? That's what he's referring to. We don't give a rat's arse what Danielle or any other man or woman on this call thinks. All that matters is that when we seat a jury of our peers, that they are given the truth and the evidence. What do you think a jury of Mac's peers or your peers are going to say when they realize that this man's caused no wrong or harm? There's no obligation that he's breached. There's no man or woman coming forward with a bill of particulars. They're going to realize that there is no court here. And all of these people are billing you through taxation for all of this ridiculous waste of time. This is why you have to understand that there is no justice system in this country, okay? It is a just us system. And these people here before you, none of them are acting lawfully, never mind honorably. They're completely ignoring their role and duty to ask and understand the questions that are being put before them. If they don't understand them, they are still required to provide an answer, which this man, Danielle, was supposed to be the honorable, independent, party that's involved in this, overseeing this. He's not having anything to do with listening to what Mac is bringing forward. And these are 4 questions that are very powerful. And this is why they don't touch them. This is why they have to, basically say to people and belittle them in court, this is all nonsense. These people have ruled against us. And where you argue, you can't argue with them in their courts. Okay, because they are just going to steamroll over you. They just are not going to listen. That's why you have to file and move claims in courts against these people. And that's what we're ultimately going to do. Again, Adrian Switzer, so you know, she's already included in the initial claim, the woman in the bottom left there, that Mac filed on November the 13th, 2020. The man up top, I believe he might be her assistant at the Department of Justice for Canada. I'm not sure. I've never met him before. I'm just hearing his name being talked about for the first time here.
I think he's the provincial crown attorney. The provincial crown attorney.
Okay.
That's at New West Courthouse.
Right. So people need to know this, is that if Mac goes and he appears at this court, this trial that they're putting together, right, they are not going to listen to anything. That's what this man, Daniel's telling him. We're not going to hear any of this stuff anymore. Okay, we don't want to hear it. That's right. You don't want to hear it in your courts because it has no standing in your courts, but he still has a duty and obligation acting as a justice that when a jurisdictional challenge has been brought forth, this man's clearly ignorant of law. He doesn't understand the 3 jurisdictions, land, air, and water. And he wants everyone just to believe that the dictates, what he puts out, or anybody that the Supreme Court has ruled on. Like, see, the Supreme Court is the Bible for everybody. These people that all belong to the Supreme Court society, Supreme Court rules of civil procedure, so to speak, that created it, that they're the people that are creating our rules and our laws, and they're the ones that are ensuring that the process is moving forward. Well, you're seeing the process move in front of you here. They're just ignoring Mac flat out. Keep running it, Paul. Thanks, Mac.
The essential elements are going to be, were you out of the country? Were you subject to the provisions of the Quarantine Act? Were you warned specifically so that you clearly had knowledge of how it applied specifically to your case? Were you told the rules under the Act and or did you obey or disobey the law as set out under the Quarantine Act? And did it happen at approximately...
Pause it there, Paul.
The
There it is right there for you people. Did you obey or did you not obey? See? These people have got nothing to do with law. All right? It's right in your face what's going on here. And this is what's so repugnant. And this is why this has been recorded. This is why we're going to continue to bring these truths out into the light, because your average man and woman, they've never stepped into a courthouse. They've never understood what's going on. But all the people that have been watching and understanding and learning these truths through my website and also through various journeys that they've gone on are now seeing in real time. This is what's going on in our public courthouses. These people are not the law. This man that's supposed to be acting honorable Danielle, he's supposed to be a neutral party. And if Mac, as he has honorably done here, and he's put it in writing so that there's no miscommunication before this court, this man has a duty to stop everything, and there should be a hearing on jurisdiction. But they don't want to hear it because, as far as this man Danielle's concerned, the society that he's been a member of for all these years, they've already ruled on all this nonsense and ridiculousness that people bring up and waste court's time. Look at the court time that's being wasted right now and the taxpayers' money that's being spent on these people trying to do all they can to do nothing more than support their corruption, in which they're trying to implement and enforce and make people obey belongs to them and applies to them. Carry on, Paul.
Outlined in the allegations. There may or may not be, depending on how the evidence comes out, if it turns out that the same act that forms the quasi-criminal matter is part and parcel also of the prosecution on these two other tickets, there may be an application of law that would say that you should be convicted of both. So that's a general outline of how the trial is going to run.
So there's a presumption of jurisdiction, which I've honorably attested in the paperwork, which you're waiting to receive right now to read. And we cannot proceed with jurisdiction challenge if my notices and evidence is not read. So the Quarantine Act is not a law. It's a set of rules. There needs to be evidence provided that that set of rules apply.
No, there doesn't. And we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. It applies to you.
Is there evidence of that, or are you going to just assert that?
I'm asserting that, and I'm ruling that.
That's your lawful decision?
Yes.
For the record?
So have you, Ms. Switzer, have you forwarded on?
Now, Matt could have said there, I don't consent, but it's okay.
I don't know if Madam Registrar has received it.
Yes, Your Honor, we advised the registry managers that email account to add it to the judge's drive when received. We're just going to confirm now if they received that.
Okay.
I don't want to take anything away from having Your Honor review materials, but it does seem to imply that Mr. Parhar wishes to have someone assist him with this file who is not aware, as I understand it. But I can't speak for Mr. Parhar. I don't know. He can perhaps advise whether he's requesting to have an agent assist him.
It is my right as a living man to have someone that rules the law help me out. I'm not being represented. I'm just getting assistance.
Okay. The same rules will apply to whoever is in the courtroom. So, Mac of the Parhar family. Blah, blah, blah. Notice of appearance. I'm Matt Mac. Okay.
So he's not reading them on the record. He's reading them on the screen.
Document a month or two ago. Nonsense.
Filed in the past.
So then Mac knows a counselor. So the family notice appearance is nonsense. Counselor at law. Anybody give notice counselor at law? As of this day, any order sent to Christopher James. Let's see. And who is Christopher James?
Can you pause it for a sec, Paul?
That is me on the call here.
So I just want everyone to know something that I realized afterwards. Mac told me after we went into this court that I didn't realize. This man, Daniel, acting as the honorable magistrate or judge, he was actually the man that was the bond representative when Mac was getting bonded out of custody when he had been kidnapped. So this man has obviously a conflict of interest. He should not be involved in this case matter now because he's liable for what happened to Mac when he was trespassed upon and they arrested him and they kidnapped him and they locked him up for several days. That's what I need to see, and that's what I need to understand. That's what this man was just stating, saying, oh, I've seen this stuff before. This is nonsense, right? Well, it's not for him to decide. This is why in a proper courtroom, you have, a jury of your peers sitting there, a jury. They're the ones that decide whether something is nonsense or whether something is true or not. And that's why when these truths actually get put before a jury of our peers, this nonsense is going to stop. Carry on, Paul.
Is you on the all right. Christopher James, where are you?
I'm right here, sir.
Oh, I see. Christopher Guest. Okay. And you plan, it says that all the communications are sent to you, but it doesn't say where you are. It's a little hard to send you anything.
That was put in prior communication. I guess it's not in the file.
Well, you want to let us in on the secret?
It was put in on the 18th as well.
Yep. You can send everything to Mac. It's fine. As long as Mac gets it, then we will deal with it here.
Okay.
So that's in Ontario?
Yes.
And so I'm not clear on whether Mr. James is planning to attend for the trial to assist Mr. Parhar.
I will have to decide at that down the road here as we move forward. The one question that I do have is the Supreme Court civil rules that have been talked about. Could you please provide the evidence that that applies to we the people?
No.
These are not rabbit holes.
We're not using the Supreme Court rules. I've never mentioned the Supreme Court rules. We are in provincial court. We're subject to the provincial court rules.
Oh, is that the rules of civil procedure?
No.
Is it the Supreme Court civil rules?
No.
It's a separate set of rules then. Okay, I'm not familiar with that. I'll have to look at that.
Well, then look at it.
So what rules are we using? How can I prepare myself if I don't know what these rules are? I can't find anything about these quasi-criminal court rules.
I just explained to you fundamental rules.
Okay.
All right. So.
Can you pause it for a sec, Paul? Thanks. So I just want everyone to know I was basically playing there with him, right? I wanted to just bring that out into the open and clarify that this isn't moving under the rules of civil procedure and that this isn't moving under the Supreme Court civil rules. That's what's used in their superior courts in the federal level in British Columbia. They don't refer to it as the rules of civil procedure in Ontario. They call it the Supreme Court civil rules. So I was just basically pushing there to find out exactly where are these rules I wanted him to state on the record upon which he's relying for jurisdiction. And this is what Mac also very wonderfully followed up and said, how am I supposed to proceed if I don't know what these rules are coming from? So it's just another element that we just wanted to get as much information moving forward before we do our next steps. Carry on, Paul.
Notice jurisdiction. All right, I just looked at your notice of jurisdiction. This is not a foreign court, and the matter of jurisdiction has already been overruled by all the superior courts, so it won't be part of the trial. Notice of liability. The notice of liability has also been dealt with by the superior courts in several provinces and has been deemed to be nonsense, and it will not be part of the trial.
This is a legal proceeding, correct? Pause it, please, Paul. So he's basically come up here and he says this is nonsense, the notice of liability. Really? Whose notice of liability? Because this is Mac's notice of liability. Are you telling me that there's been some sort of a court that jumped into the future many years ago and found this notice of liability that we've just put into this man here today, and they've grabbed it and they've taken it back, and in an open and public court with the people, they've decided that this is ruled on it, as he said, that this is nonsense? See, this is what they do, people. They want to block everything from possibly happening or any type of discussion occurring surrounding the jurisdiction that control was actually moving this court forward right now. This is why I say you don't speak in their courts, because they're just going to blow through you. But if you noticed here, this man hasn't read a damn thing onto the record, but he has admitted that he received these communications. And these 3 notices are all evidence for Mac Parhar moving forward, challenging the jurisdiction that it was ignored. You don't care about prior court rulings or whatever. What did that have to do with the man Mac and in this here and now present moment? Absolutely nothing. All right. So the nonsense that this man, he believes, he's entitled to believe whatever he wants. But the fact of the matter is that what he's referring to is not nonsense. It is actually valid. It is verified that Mac is not property. There's no obligation that's been presented. There is no man or woman that's come forward with a claim of trespass, and there's no bill of particulars, right? There is no court. And yet they don't want to hear that. All they want to do is they got to keep pushing the boulder down the road, because this is what people are writing within the larger service corporation, and this is how they all get paid. Carry on, Mac.
Good day to the man who acting. All right. All right. So, Mr. Parhar, I have looked at each one of your documents. You're on mute.
Christopher, you had a question?
Nope, I'm fine.
Good.
I don't consent to any of this, but as I said, Mac has put this before the court. You know, we need to understand where these rules, who wrote them, right? This is a common law country last time I checked, so we just need to make sure we're in the right jurisdiction honorably.
Yeah, we are in the right jurisdiction.
I haven't seen that demonstrated with respect.
Well, with respect, it's amply demonstrated. It's not totally a common law jurisdiction. It's also governed by Parliament, and the statutes passed by the people's representatives in Parliament.
Correct, but that's not law.
All right. So, that
pause it there, Paul.
Be,
so there again, I shouldn't have cut myself off. That's why I went around. Well, that's not law, right? These are people that work for a service corporation that are supposed to be writing policy that's supposed to be protecting the property of man, not creating policy and legislation, codes, rules, acts, and statutes, okay, that benefit these people here, all right? And you can hear the arrogance that's coming out of this man. Daniel is supposed to be acting honorable. He's really showing, all right, what is going on right now. He would never speak like that if there was a room filled with people, okay? Because he would be obviously outnumbered and he'd be overruled very quickly. And that's why the juries need to understand jury nullification. But we'll carry on with this right now, Paul.
Your statement, and you happen to be wrong and I happen to be right. So, Ms. Switzer, can we carry on?
Honorable man, can you just confirm that because I'm speaking with you right now and you have my notice of appearance, can you confirm for the record that I am a living, breathing man?
You do not appear to be dead. Yes, you are a living, breathing human being.
No, man.
I think we covered this during your bail hearing.
Well, I just wanted for the record, if you can just confirm that I'm a living, breathing man and none of this human being person nonsense, just that I'm a living, breathing man. It's a yes or
I
no.
have no way. I can see that you are a living, breathing human being.
Okay, so man or woman, can you confirm that I'm a living, breathing man or woman? One of the people.
Well, you're a you're one of the people.
Okay, thank you.
And both men and women can be equally prosecuted under the Quarantine Act. So it doesn't much matter whether you're a man or a woman.
Will the prosecution... Sorry, go ahead.
As long as you're not a little child, and you're clearly not a little child.
Will the prosecution provide evidence of that? That the Quarantine Act, that the Quarantine Act applies to a man or woman?
Mr. Parhar, it is a given. That's the end of that. That's the end of that discussion.
I'd like to ask you time. Will the prosecution provide evidence that the Quarantine Act applies to a living man or woman? It's an easy yes or no.
It's a legal question that the prosecutor can only make submissions on, and judges make rulings. It applies to everyone within the jurisdiction of Canada, whether you're a citizen or not.
So for the third and final time, will the prosecution provide evidence that the Quarantine Act applies to a living man or woman?
Ms. Switzer, anything else that needs to be discussed?
No, not that I'm aware of. I haven't actually received a confirmation from every single witness yet, although I've sent out a second confirmation of that. I don't anticipate, given the circumstances of the day, that there will be any scheduling issues with any of the witnesses. So I just want to confirm that all matters will be set for the 8th of March, and so that Mr. Parhar is aware of that, and that there is no further disclosure from the Crown for either of the tickets, unless he requests something.
What you've said is you've sent him a package, and new material may or may not arise as you interview witnesses, so he's certainly entitled to receive that and receive it in good time, and what he does with it is up to him.
Just for the record, I will receive all of this stuff, but not accept and consent to any joinder. I will accept it as a gift for the record.
Sure, that's perfectly fine. I do suggest that you do read it, because if, and it's a big if the Crown is successful in its prosecution, there will be consequences that follow, and the consequences would apply to you. So it is in your best interest to read the material and try, if you're going to be pleading not guilty, to try to arrange your defense in such a way that it meets relevant issues that the Crown has to prove. All right. Any other issues to be discussed or settled today?
No, not from the Crown's perspective. Just Mr. Parhar should be adjourned to attend on the 8th on both matters in person, with the awareness that the third matter will follow to that date.
Yeah, I just want to end with saying at the end here, I do not, for the record again, I do not consent to any of these procedures going on against me. They're causing me tremendous wrong and harm, and a trespass upon me.
All right. Well, you don't have a choice, just like any citizen or person who is found within Canada. Just listen to me. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen. If there's an allegation against a person who is found in Canada to have violated a law, you are obligated to participate in the determination whether or not the Crown can prove the violation. So, unless you have any other questions that are relevant to the case, I will adjourn this directly to March the 8th.
Will the Crown provide evidence that I am a citizen or a person?
That is not a requirement. The only requirement is for the Crown to prove that you were in Canada. And in fact, in British Columbia, since you were in provincial court being prosecuted.
Well, if that's what you're saying, again, I don't.
That is what I'm saying. Well, I'm not asking for your consent.
So you're claiming again that I'm your property. You're giving me orders.
I am not claiming you're my property because you're not my property. You are a human being who's been allegedly, or who, against whom it's been alleged you've broken the law. So, all right, we will see you at 9:30 on March the 8th, 2021 at the courthouse in New Westminster in person. I suggest you bring the material that the Crown has sent you so that you'll have easy reference to it. I suggest you bring paper and pen so that you can make notes as the witnesses speak so you can keep track of the evidence. And you will have to follow whatever the health protocols are for in-person appearances. So we will see you on March the 8th, 2021 at the New Westminster Courthouse for trial. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll disconnect.
All right.
Thanks, Paul. Killer. So there you go, everybody. What a complete shit show there that was going on with Mac in the courthouse. Like I said, you start to see the shenanigans that are going on. You saw the enormous incompetence of them not having the correct documentation there that we ensured from the 18th that they would have in that court file. And you paid attention there that he's saying that every citizen, every person, right? And then he backtracked. Then he says that everyone that's in Canada is bound by these laws. Well, again, that word should have come up. Whose laws are we talking about here? But Mac did a great job in essence that he got the key core facts on the record, that they received these communications with the notices of liability, notice of appearance, and notice to jurisdiction. And as you saw, none of this was read on the record, which was required, but at least he admitted that he received it, so we can move forward on that process with him. I want everyone to know here that you want to speak a little bit, Mac, to what was going on, because I imagine you were very frustrated as well listening to that, and it was very difficult for me to sit there and listen to it. But again, we had to let that man talk, and the more he talked, you saw that he started going in circles.
Yeah, I didn't know how much of an attack I could go on. There's a lot of things I would have said, but I tried to remain as honorable, so I was biting my tongue as much as possible. You know, I'd like to ask him if this is a quasi court, is he a quasi judge? You know, say things like that, and you know, hammer home again, like be more persistent. I would have asked more than 3 times, but I you know, it was unfamiliar. Like I was kind of flabbergasted and shocked at his behavior, how I didn't, you know, I had it in my head after speaking with you beforehand that, you know, this was going to be over in 1 minute. So I was kind of shocked that, you know, it went this far, and the fact that he was lying so much and being evasive that, you know, at first I was remaining honorable and listening and not interrupting as best as possible. But the end of it, you know, me and my friends that were over here, like we lost all our appetite. You know, we wanted to have breakfast and that, and yeah, it was an unreal experience to go through that and want to say more and find that fine line of being belligerent and remaining in honor, but also standing as a man, you know?
Yep. That's the most difficult part, is that when you know that you're in the right, and the reason I said it's over in a minute, it is over in a minute if they addressed and recognized those 4 questions that you put to them. And you put it to them multiple times within that ridiculous You know, like that's what I'm saying. We shouldn't have been on that call for a half an hour. It should have been over in the first, 4 or 5 minutes, right? Once you laid that information out, Daniel should have turned to the Crown, said, produce the evidence. And that's what I like what Mac did on his own when he said, can you show me where the Quarantine Act is a law, right? That's not a law. You address that very correctly to them, and they just ignore it. See, and they're able to get away with this because we are standing in these quasi courts, these legal realms, this legal jurisdiction that has nothing to do with a man or a woman. It only has to do with a citizen or persons. See, that's why he was fighting Max so hard to even commit to saying man or woman. He kept wanting to go back to human. And then you heard him say later, this applies to every citizen and resident or whatever else he said in the country. So
well, he did say you at one point, didn't he say you are a man? Living man? Yes, you are, the third time. So he admitted that. So now he's in complete dishonor by going ahead with these proceedings.
Yeah, and they are. And this is what I'm saying. They wish to ignore, and they get away with this stuff because look at this particular shit show that went on here. This is all done in the private. The people aren't seeing this. Imagine if everybody could log in every day and see these court cases that are going on and see how people are coming forth and they're saying, excuse me, there's no verified claim before this court. You're challenging jurisdiction of that court. That is your right, right? And you did that, and this man completely ignored it, right? So this is what people need to understand what we're up against. And to show Mac, as I said to everybody, I don't care who gets this done. Whoever can find a way to stop these people initially, what they're doing, that's the most important thing. And that's why I brought up with Mac after this. I said, I'm familiar with Esler Levant from Rebel News. And of course, I've knocked this whole thing with the fighting the fines things because it's got nothing to do with addressing, as Mac and I are trying to do here, that these courts have no jurisdiction over we the people in the first place. And this has nothing to do with law. It has to do with legal. It has nothing to do with a man or woman, only persons. And that's why you heard that term used many times from this man acting as the judge at that time. So it's a very disturbing thing when you have to first and foremost go through this, when you understand that what you're speaking to is the truth and these people just ignore you. That is why we file our claims and our courts, because in Mac's court, that man acting as the judge, he has no jurisdiction or control over that court. It's the Parhar Court. And this is ultimately what they're fearful of. Okay, because all these rulings that this man was pointing to and relating to, referencing to, those are rulings from other court proceedings that went on. That has nothing to do with Mac. They can't paint a paintbrush across every man and woman in this country. Oh, there was this case that we ruled on 3 weeks ago here, or 6 months, or 60 years ago, right? And that one said basically that what you're saying is all nonsense. Really? Well, this is the here and now, and my fellow man and woman have every right to see the information and the truth that I'm bringing forward. And this man didn't do that, right? He's not going to hear it because he can't. He doesn't want to listen to any of this because the second that a man or a woman steps out into the light and actually makes them produce this evidence that there is jurisdiction going on in this court, they're finished. Everything is exposed. So what I said to Mac, and I'm an open, transparent guy, I told Mac after we talked about this, after we hung up for a few hours, I called him back and I reached out. And what did I tell you to do, Mac? You can tell everybody.
You told me to reach out to Rebel News and Ezra Levant and submit my case to them for representation to help me out with Fight the Fines, to fight it in their legal world, what their lawyers are doing, and try to get some kind of a constitutional challenge going so that we can fight them in their court, in their legal system.
That's right. And like I say, as I said, to fight in the legal world. I can't fight in the legal world, but in the lawful world, I'll mop the floor with these people in a minute. That's how quick it is, because when these 4 questions are brought out before a jury of our peers, they're all going to understand where Mac is standing, that he's caused no wrong or harm to anyone, as we've gone over, and they're going to find this man not guilty. Not only not guilty, but then they're going to find all these people. Remember, this is massive fraud that's occurring. Think of the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that are going to be paid out since this entire corrupt process began, from all these bylaw officers. This is a new one that we learned out about this too. This has been sent to ICBC, right? Who the hell is that? Right? This is another service corporation that's involved in this. Well, does a man or woman there? That's the first time I heard this on this call today. So we have to look into and write to them. Is there a man or woman there that's got a verified claim against Mac? Because maybe we've missed something here, right? But we know that that is not the case that's going on here. And that's why it's important that we bring this out into the light. All right. And you don't have to look at it and say, see, well, what Christopher's saying, nothing works. No, you have to understand the evil that we're up against and we've been dealing with. This has been in place in this country and in this world for over 150 years. Okay, these courts. And we are finally coming to our fruition. We are finally recognizing who we are as a man or a woman, and we are going to correct this, and we don't allow these people to continue to bully us. So why I told Mac to reach out to Ezra Levant, and that is because they're doing charter challenges. I was talking to Adam from Adam's Barbecue. We're very close in what we're doing as well. And Adam, yes, still has lawyers. He's fired, I think, 5 or 6 that he originally had, but he realizes the corruption, what they are all implementing. But he does have lawyers that are simply doing, and I've learned it was they're working very diligently on these constitutional challenges and the charter challenges. That's the way the legal world has saw how to undermine and address these tickets that they're doing right now, basically trespassing against the people. But again, in their world, they're simply fighting the ticket. No one is being held accountable for the wrong and harm that they've done. And that's why I'm saying is that there's people that are being wronged and harmed every day. There's elderly people that are being terrorized in their homes. There's the children that are being terrorized, everything that's going on. And that's why what Mac is doing here, why what I'm doing and other people moving these claims in courts forward is so important. They will not get away with this when we have a few thousand people around the courthouse and in the courthouse, hopefully with law enforcement as well standing with us when we're moving the Parhar Court. Because when we move that Parhar Court, we're going to be putting out warrants for everybody that you saw in that call to arrest. That's what's going to happen. And we're going to bring them into the courthouse, and then the jury of our peers is sitting there, the people. And do you think they're not going to understand, again, those 4 questions simply, and then they see what these people have been doing? If you had any idea what these people are making money-wise for this kind of so-called court, quasi-court, I also noticed they said, well, it's not really, it's common law, but it's also a combination between common law, and then he's referring to what the legislators are creating within this service corporation. Well, Mac didn't agree to any of that. That doesn't apply to a man or woman. Show me, if I was in Mac's place, there's a lot of things, obviously, Mac wanted to say too. It was also very difficult for me sitting there having to listen to this, but I wanted to, put the key core questions out there to try and drill down on what they're using to have jurisdiction over this man. That's why we made him explain, well, where are these rules coming from? I knew it wasn't the rules of civil procedure, and I knew it wasn't also the Supreme Court civil rules that were going on, but I wanted him to answer it. And not only did he answer it, but also we got an email, didn't we, from Adrian Switzer, the woman afterwards. And again, I have nothing against Adrian, these people, but they've got to understand what they're doing to their fellow man. It's wrong. All right. And we have to stop this, right? Like I said, that's why the Second and First World Wars, people gave their lives for these freedoms. And Mac is standing up here honorably. I'm sure all of you listening to this were probably watching and feeling very frustrated as well. Like, get the frick on with this. Like, what are you people doing over there? And believe me, Mac was feeling that pressure and everything too. Remember, Mac has never been in this situation before. He's never, he's at home. It's even worse when you go into these repugnant courthouses, okay? Because then the intimidation is a full on, because they got the law enforcement there. And every time I go into court, sometimes they move the police up in behind me as if to intimidate me, right? And that's what you have to understand. That's what they would have started doing with Mac if he was talking. They're keyed off certain things if a man is talking over somebody else. But Mac didn't do that. Mac carried himself very honorably. We've got this on the public record, these communications. We're showing exactly what's going on with this shit show. And now we have to continually move this forward and bring this into the light. And that's why I said to him, you reach out to Ezra Levant, okay? Because if they're doing a charter challenge in a legal capacity and they can get this stayed or pushed down the road for you, that's all that matters. I'm here to protect Mac, the man Parhar, who's caused no wrong or harm. I can't protect him in their quasi courts, because you see this man that's basically acting as the judge. He ain't going to listen to nothing. Okay, he's in an island all to himself, and he's going to do whatever his society has told him is the law. Well, that's not acceptable to we the people, and that's why I say the bar is the biggest criminal organization in the world, next to service corporations called governments, and we're going to ride out. We're going to face them. So in closing here, Mac, do you want to leave any messages with everybody? Because we're going to continue on with this, and I'm not going to say what our next step is going to be, but we will show everybody on Monday what we've actually done.
Some people are asking, why are we in their court? Why is there a judge? So people are unclear. What happened here on Monday was a pre-trial conference for the charges against me that they brought. So this has nothing to do with the Parhar Court yet. That's going to be established and started coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
But this was me defending myself against the charges, the 2 fines of $1,150 and then 3 charges of violating the Quarantine Act, because there was 5 days they said they caught me not at home quarantining. So the first 2 days they gave me tickets, and then they couldn't get a hold of me the 3rd, 4th, and 5th day until that night they arrested me. So the next 3 days were charges, and they want jail time for that. Actually, they want to put me back in jail. So the trials March 8th and 9th. that's what's been set. This is kind of like in their world, in their game, they have this pre-trial conference where you get together, both parties, usually lawyers, to figure out how many days they need and how many lawyers and etc. witnesses. So that's what was supposed to happen here on this day. Now, they didn't ask me at all how many witnesses I'm going to have, anything like that. So that seems pretty fishy. They're going ahead. They're pushing this trial through as quickly as they can before the fraud gets exposed, because I think they want to put me in jail and put it on the media and tell everybody this is what happens when you violate the Quarantine Act. So those of you that are wondering, why is this happening? Why did this happen? This is their game, and they're steamrolling and bulldozing me because they're presuming that I'm this fictitious all caps name, and they have power and ownership over me.
That's right.
That's what happened on this day.
Yeah, and that's why we appeared. You have to understand is that you don't have to fear this fight, because ultimately if Mac doesn't appear, right, he realizes that there's fraud occurring against him, then they're going to hold that further against him. They may start saying, well, we need to put out arrest warrants for this guy. He's not showing up or whatever, right? So we don't fear these people, but I'm glad, Mac, you clarified that for everybody, because yes, we were appearing in their court world that they created, and we were challenging jurisdiction. So when people were saying, why are you there? You must have missed maybe the first part of this broadcast when we were discussing the registered letters that got put into that courthouse addressing jurisdiction, appearance, and the notice liability. Those 3 documents described exactly why we were there, the exact questions that we required answered, which they didn't do, and the liability that they're going to face. Now, whether they choose to ignore it as they did, that's their choice in their world. But when we get them into a real court of law, we were able to bring that forth as evidence that they never answered these questions, and now they're going to answer them now. And they're not going to be answered yes to any of them. And the minute that happens, they're finished. Okay, that's when everything is exposed. That's why I'm saying to everybody is that the battle is actually for all of us to restore our public courthouse and have that process proper for the man or woman to move their claim quickly before this court, right? The jury of your peers would decide on this very quickly. So that's why Mac was there today. It's also to show them that we're not scared of them. It's also to show them that we're here to honorably settle this. And as I said to this, as much as I find these people repugnant, they've all been lied to. Their consciousness, whether they're going to accept the truth or not, has been corrupted. And we have to do everything we can honorably to bring this truth into the light and to stop them from what they're doing. There's nothing dishonorable about what Mac and I are doing. And that's why the further that this moves along now and it expedites, hopefully Ezra will reach out. Like I said, use the legal side then if they're able to stop, this through a charter challenge or whatever they're doing with the fight the fines thing. They supposedly won 2 cases already, right? Based on these charter challenges. But it's again, the question comes down to who wrote this act that they're talking about, this Quarantine Act, because obviously whoever wrote it, these people believe that Mac is under that jurisdiction. He's under the control of those people that wrote it. And that's what I'm saying. What we'll do then is we'll subpoena these people that wrote the Quarantine Act and we'll put them on the stand. That's what you would do, Mac. Okay, so that's an option that we can start to do. But again, I don't wish to go into their courts at all because it's completely corrupt. And that man that's wearing the robe there, Danielle, he's going to shut everything down if he doesn't like seeing anything coming forward that's the truth. He's not interested in the correct jurisdiction. He's not interested if this man is actually being wronged or harmed. They don't care. And that's why you have to create your own court, as we've done the Parhar Court. And that's where the rubber hits the road for us when we go to start moving it in the very near future. So, Mac,
So what happens, like if the lawyers aren't successful, like they're just going to steamroll me and throw me in the cage in March? I got to get prepped to spend time in jail?
Nope, we're going to keep fighting this all the way along here, Mac. And like I said, you heard Kevin that came on here, right? If they're going to throw you in jail, there's going to be an order that's put there. It's not like they're saying they're going to throw you in jail for a year. They're talking 30 days. Like that's a joke, right? And that's with already the time that you supposedly served, as they said. But there is so much corruption that's going on with this and conflict of interest. I mean, this man, Danielle, has no business being overseeing this court case. Why? Because he was the original bail judge. What is he doing also on this case? Because he knows if there's some shenanigans that are brought forward that are shown to be fraudulent, especially from the first arrest or whatever, he's going to be liable. So don't let him kid yourself when he's talking to you. And at a very high rate that they're going to have to prove that what Mr. Parhar did, the Crown's got to prove this. Yeah. He just can't wait for it to get in there and for the Crown to say diddly whatever they're going to say. And he's going to say, well, yeah, they proved it, Mac. So this is why, like I say, at this particular time, everything happens for a reason. This is by no means over. This is just a first stage of what's going on. And that's why I reached out, and we've reached out to, or Mac has reached out to Ezra Levant to say, listen, if you've got some people, there's no case that's bigger than this, because why? All the cases that Ezra Levant's involved in right now, none of them got set down for trial. Mac is the only one that I know in this entire country that is now being set down for trial based on this Quarantine Act. And this is why they have to make an example of him. We all know that what they're doing is wrong. We all know what they're doing is unlawful. And the only way we're going to turn that around with Mac is by bringing the country's attention to it and having hundreds of thousands of people aware of this. And I believe in the next month, so in the next few weeks here, this is going to pop big time, especially with Kevin Johnson, okay, now involved and working with me, because he is going to bring this also to the light. That's all it takes is for the people to see this. And if we can get people that are part of the bar that would reach out and do these charter challenges or constitutional challenges for Mac to stay or delay whatever they're trying to force. You know, again, he hasn't even received full disclosure yet. He doesn't even have a list of what these defendants are in their world, and they're going ahead and they're setting a trial date. That doesn't cut it. If you had lawyers involved in this, they wouldn't allow that because they're all happy they'd be getting paid anyway. So what's the difference if we drag this out for a few more months anyway, 6 months down the road? Big deal, right? They're still going to come to the same resolution at the end of the day. So hopefully Ezra will reach out to Mac and he will provide assistance to him with the lawyers that the people of this country are actually paying for. And there is no greater case if they're going to do a charter challenge or constitutional challenge in a legal world to come to the forefront, because that's what the world needs to see. You lawyers need to be worth your weight in gold right now. For all this trespassing that's going on, it should be just as simple for me on the lawful side as it should be for you on the legal side. So where the hell are you? Why are you not stepping up like other people like Ezra Levant is? So I'm sure that we're going to get a lot of people are going to be calling. I appreciate if everyone will do that for Mac. Contact Ezra Levant, ask him to step up and support Mac Parhar right now and fight the fines, because the case has actually been set down for trial. And secondly, also ask and please say to Ezra Levant, bring Christopher James on with you in a separate show and bring a lawyer on and let's sit down and let's have a discussion. Ezra Levant, just so everybody knows, is a member of the bar. Okay? He is a member. Whether he's still a practicing member, I don't know, but he did get his bar card, so to speak. And that's the conversation that our entire world needs to hear. Imagine if Ezra Levant brought me on a live stream and we were all honorably talking about what is going on in these public courthouses, the difference between legal and lawful, right? The world would finally see, our country would finally see what's going on. And then they'd understand what's going on against Mac Parhar is absolutely horrific. And that's why we cannot allow this to happen. And we're not going to allow this to happen. We're going to stand with Mac, and we're going to bring this forward to the light, into the world, so the entire country knows and sees what's going on. That what's going on here is absolutely massive fraud against we the people. And Mac just happens to be the poster boy for it. He's bearing the brunt for everybody here. Okay, and that's why our actions that we're going to do next week, we ain't stopping. We're going to continue. We're going to issue, shall we say, more filings to some of these people now that have clearly stepped way beyond their jurisdiction and control. They've trespassed against Mac, so we're going to move court and claim against them. And just as they're pulling all of their courts together, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to pull all of our claims and courts that we're going to move together under one day, and we're going to mop the floor with these people once we sit a jury. But it's getting to that point. That is the trick right now. That is the core goal of everybody that has to step up right now to see that we get this done. So, Mac, I want to thank you with all my heart for being here tonight. It's been it's great. I know it was frustrating for a lot of people to listen to that again. I'm sure it was frustrating for you, too, because you're constantly on the edge. You're like, for crying out loud, get on with it, will you? Answer my damn 4 questions and we can get on with this. But they will not answer them. They just refer to them as nonsense. And I don't think the jurisdiction of a court is nonsense. So, again, this man's going to have to provide. We're going to write a letter to him as well to produce these rules or these rulings that he's relying upon. And when he produces that, you're not going to see Mac Parhar's name involved in any of that. And it doesn't apply to the man Mac. So, again, it's all about the devil in the details. I'm glad we've had a chance to go over this a second time. And we will continue to keep people up to date as we move forward, Mac. And, again, from the bottom of my heart, I just want you to know I'm standing with you shoulder to shoulder. And we're going to get this done. I know it's a merry-go-round. As I said earlier, this has got more ups and downs than a bride's pair of pajamas. Okay, and I want everyone to know something. This is what the fight's like, people. We're going to get our nose bloody, metaphorically speaking, but we're also going to fight back too. And the stronger that they start to see us going, see, this is why this man Danielle spoke so fluently like he did, because there's nobody watching what he's doing, right? He's not being held accountable by anybody. Well, that man will be held accountable when he gets brought into a proper court of law, not legal world, where the people can actually see that what he was doing, that he is not a judge over a man or woman, that we are not property, okay? And that's why this fight has finally come. So in closing, Mac, thank you. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. Is there anything you want to say to everybody on the way out?
No, thank you for being here, and thank you for the support, everybody in the chat and across the country and the world. And thank you for your help, Christopher, to help me, take on this fight.
Yeah. Well, this is a big boulder that we're moving on behalf of everybody. That's why I'm saying when you look at Mac, you have to look at yourself. Every injustice, every trespass that's occurred against Mac is only a matter of time before it's going to start occurring against all of us. Okay? And we're seeing that being represented in our world today. So I love you to death, Mac. Thanks so much for joining me here tonight. And we'll see you real soon, my friend.
Okay. Thanks, Christopher.
Thanks, brother. Bye. And as always, people, mankind must never tolerate evil, for first evil is tolerated, then is it embraced, then hailed as being good. Then it becomes unlawful to do what is actually good, and all by design. Ignorance is the enemy, knowledge is the solution. I love you all, God bless, and I'm going to see you with a powerhouse again tomorrow night. Kevin John.
And I see a whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny. You've come to fight as free men. And free men you are. What will you do with that freedom? Will you fight? Fight against that? No! We will run! And we will live. Aye. Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live. At least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom! Fine speech. Now what do we do?
Just be yourselves.
Where are you going?
You're going to pick a fight.
Well, we didn't get dressed up for nothing.